Okay, finally part 2, 3, and 4, the extended response questions. By the way, this is Mrs. Newman and I's best attempt to try to come up with some other practice exams. This is practice exam 2. If you haven't done parts 1 and 2 of these video series, of just this one, so each test is broken up into 3 parts. First part of the multiple choice, second part, third part. That way, they're easier to load on your devices, hopefully. If you need them, they're right here. Go to nkinfinity.com. There's the website. Click on New York State Teachers and Algebra 2 Review. They are right there. 1, 2, 3. And after I'm done with these 3, after I'm done with today's video, or this video right now, these 3 links should be live. If you need the Regents exams, there's only 3, which is why we decided to try to come up with a couple of good examples of some more review for you. So this is part 2, practice test 2, and we were going to be doing parts 2 through 4 in this video. All right, let me get there. Oh, man, zoomed a little bit too far. Okay, here we go. So this question probably could have been better, not going to lie. We've got this function g of t is equal to 500 e to the 0.216. I'm really not even sure what we're getting at here. We want to, I guess the hardest part is that t is in minutes, and we want to do a half an hour. So I guess what the hard part about this problem, hard being in air quotes, is, whoa, what do I have here? Cold coffee. Yuck. I know. I made it cold specifically. It's getting warm out. Okay, so 1/2 an hour, but t is in minutes. So I guess the hardest part is just 30. And then we come over to our calculator and we type in 500. Now, okay, so another thing is E. I'm not sure. This is the number E. This is a number. It is not a variable. It is the base. It is the exponential base E. It's like 2.7 something. So you have to hit times, and then it's right over here on the calculator. E to the x. Notice it's got an exponent. 0.216 times 30. Enter. I'm going to write that down, okay? I'm going to write that down, and then I'm going to look back to see about rounding. Don't know why I put that there. I think it's 325,980. I don't remember what the rest of it was. 5.47.47. With money, you got to go out at least 3 decimals. And normally, we round right here to the penny. So let's see. Oh, wait, to the nearest integer. Now, a better way to word that one, I think a better way to word that one would have been to the nearest dollar. Round this to the nearest dollar, but we decided nearest integer, so this would be 325,985 dollars. And that's it. There's your answer. Anything else is only a 1 out of 2. You don't want to get a lot of 1 out of 2s. It's not good for you. All right, so you could type this in your calculator, and I believe you got 0 points for that. But maybe you got some. I don't even know. You shouldn't be allowed to type this in your calculator. You should know what this means. Okay, so here's what we got. First things first, this negative is going to tell us that we are going to flip this thing. So the negative tells us that we're going to turn this thing into 64 over 27. Now to the positive 2/3. The only thing that flips is this fraction, because that negative means we're just going to take the reciprocal of it. Now, you have to remember what these things represent. This is the root. This is my exponent. Now, in order to get full credit, you know, if you just come up with the answer 9/16, I think is the answer, 16 over 9, you're wrong. You'll get maybe 1 point, but I don't even think you get that, because you have to show some type of mathematical work. You have to show your process, not that I typed it in my calculator and that's what it said, right? So this is the cube root. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the cube root of 64 over 27, cube root, and we're going to take that whole thing and square it. Well, the cube root of 64 is 4. The cube root of 27 is 3. So really what we have is 4 over 3 squared, which is 16 over 9. Hopefully that's not by my head too much. There it is. That's the answer. Boom, shakalaka. All right, let's move on. Oops, slide this back over. Maybe I'm going to slide back over. I don't know. So anyway, what are we going to do here? We're going to multiply by the conjugate. Oh, state the conjugate. Now remember, conjugates are going to be the exact same thing except with a plus sign. So the conjugate is 7 plus the square root of negative 48. Well, okay, that's 1 point. Now I got to state it in a plus bi form, which really means I just have to simplify the negative 48. And hopefully you know this is negative 16 times 3. Okay? If you used 4, you didn't get the biggest one. I don't know what to tell you. Cross this square root of negative 16 out is 4i. Now you should have known you needed an I because right there it said it needs to be an a plus bi form. So the answer to this question is 7 plus 4i square roots of 3. Done. Speaking of negative exponents, I guess this is the problem with negative exponents. Let's talk about this. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to simplify this first. 6 goes in here twice. 6 goes in here. Oh, I think there's a bigger number. Oh, 12. I didn't even see that. Oh, am I crazy? 12 goes in here once. 12 goes in here twice. So let's start with 1/2. That's what we're going to start half. Now, if they've got a negative, they're going to move. So those negative 3 are going up. These negative 5 are coming down. So it becomes x to the positive 3, x to the positive 5. And then these just come up. So I end up with y to the 5th times y squared. So what's that equal to? Well, who has more x's? The denominator does. It has 2 more. So we'll leave 2 down there. Oh, we still have the 1. We still have the 2. And then the x squared stays down here. And when you have multiply, what do you do with the exponents? You add them. Y to the 7th. And we really don't need this 1. It wouldn't be marked wrong if you had the 1 there, but this is your answer. Y to the 7th over 2. X squared. I forgot that. 2x squared. All right, moving on. 2 points. They should be fast. Very fast. In a theater with 30 rows, the number of seats increases by 2 with each successive row. The front row has 15 seats. Well, you should know that this is an arithmetic sequence. All right? You should recognize arithmetic sequence because we add the same thing over and over again. And there's your formula. A sub n. I do that every time. Every time I go the wrong test. A sub n is equal to a sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d. Now what's the question? Find a total seating capacity. Well, the first thing I got to do is use this incredibly simple formula to find my arithmetic sequence. So it's going to start with 15 rows. We're doing n minus 1 and every row has 2 more seats in it. So I can clean this up, probably best to clean this up. 15 plus 2n minus 2 or 2n plus 13. But I'm not done yet. That's just my arithmetic sequence formula. I still need to figure out how many we have with 30 rows. So I need to add all these things up. N equals 1 to 30 of 2n plus 13. So notice if I plug in a 1, I get 15. If I plug in a 2, I get 17, and so on and so forth. So I need to go to my calculator now. I could do that, I could do that in my head, but what a pain. Just go right here to this complicated button right here next to the book, and you find all this crazy stuff, and there's E. And this is also in the 84 plus. So we're going to use n equals 1 to 30 of 2n plus 13. Press enter. 1,320 seats. So my answer is 1,320 seats. Well, not so bad so far. We're doing okay. 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 All right. So g of x is equal to f of x plus 2 minus 3. So really what I got to do is figure out what is this. Now, wait a second. When it says express as a trinomial, that's probably going to mean you're going to be something like this, 2x minus 3 or something like that. Okay, those are some great penmanship. But we're going to end up with something squared, some x term. This is a trinomial. So that's the kind of an answer we should end up with when we're done. All right, that's all that means. When you're done, you should have something that looks like a parabola equation, a quadratic. So I need to figure out what is f of x plus 2. Well, f of x says take x and square it. Well, what is x? What are we putting in there? Well, we're putting x plus 2. So if I square this, f of x plus 2 is x squared plus 4x plus 4. Now, I hope you know that you have to do double distributing, x squared plus, plus 2x plus 2x plus 4. So hopefully that's not a problem. So this is really going to replace this. So what is this thing equal to? Well, this is equal to x squared plus 4x plus 4 minus 3. So final answer, g of x plus 2 minus 3 is equal to x squared plus 4x plus 1. Box in your answers, make it look sharp. Yep, that you know what you're talking about. You're confident. Oh yeah, you crazy, man. You crazy. All right, this problem at its very core looks incredibly difficult. Let's go get the answers. Let's go get the answers, but you're going to have to show math. What does, before I figure out what that is, tell me what this means. You should be able to tell me what that means. I'm going to put it in big, thick black points. It means positive. That's all it means, positive. Wait a second. If we're talking about graphically, then it means, if we're looking at it graphically, it means above the x axis. So what I'm going to do right now is I want the answers. I want to know what the answers are. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to go into graph mode. And I'm going to go x squared minus 3x minus 4. And press enter. Now, notice here, look at this. Check this out. Wherever this is above, that's positive. This is positive. Wherever this is, and above, that's positive. I accidentally clicked on something. Right. So whatever this is positive. So above here, positive. Now, if it said negative, if it said less than 0, we would pick this range. So you can see we're going to have from here out and from here out. Well, what are those 2 points? It looks like -1 and 4. So it looks like my answer is going to be -infinity to -1 or 4 to infinity. Now, if you don't like that, you can say x is less than -1 or x is greater than 4. Either one of these would be an acceptable answer for this problem because it didn't say stated in interval notation. This is standard notation. This is interval notation. You should be familiar with both. Another way I can do this is graphically. I could show this graphically. But what we're going to do is this. We're going to first factor this thing. We're going to show some math. X multiply to -4 and add up to -3. That should be pretty easy. -3. +4, that gives me my two numbers, x equals -1 and x equals 4. I like to do these things graphically. So if we look at this on a number line, these become our critical numbers, -1 and 4. And I would just test numbers. First of all, we know it's going to be open circle, and we know it's going to be open circle because there's no equal to, right? So if you plugged in a -10 into this equation, if you plugged in -10 into this equation, it would be positive. So if you plugged in -10 into this, x squared, -10 squared, -3 times -10, blah, blah, it would be positive, and that's what we want, so -10 works. If you plug in 0, watch what happens when you plug in 0. This becomes 0, this becomes 0, so I end up with -4 is greater than 0. Nope. Nope, doesn't work. Negative 4 is not greater than 0, so I shouldn't be shading in this area. And finally, if I plug in positive 10, 10 squared minus 3 times 10 minus 4, that would also be positive. And so there's my answer. So I would state it either one of these ways. It's the best way. You could do it graphically. It's an also way to state the answer. All right. Oh my God. This problem is the easiest problem on the page, and we had so many kids do such ridiculous stuff. Okay, so most kids were smart enough to do this first step, and that is x plus 1 cubed equals 64. And then all hell broke loose. They started going over here and go, okay, x plus 1 times x plus 1 times x plus 1, and then they triple distributed that out and got some crazy thing and then moved everything over and then moved to 64 over, then tried to... It was crazy. Cray. How do you do it? There's two ways to do it. One, the easiest way to do this is to raise it to the reciprocal. I'm going to raise it to the reciprocal, 1/3. And I get x plus 1 equals the... Put that in your calculator if you want, but it'll tell you it's 4. It's the cube root of 64. Bring the 1 over, and I get x equals 3. That's the easiest way to do it. Easiest way to do it. All right. All right, kids, we made it to the part 3s. I do have a correction to make on this. I hope it's made on your sheet. If it's not, it's kind of weird. This should be 1955, not 1995. That was a little small mistake, no big deal. So anyway, let's see what we got. What we're going to do is we're going to take this information and number of years and minimum wage. By the way, I got my first job right around here, 1984, and my minimum wage was $3.15 an hour. Crazy. All right. So this is about right. 1985, I got a raise to $30.35. Thought I was all that. Got all kinds of money. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, let's do the regression. So remember, linear regression is an equation. It's y equals mx plus b. Let's talk about the two places kids lose points. They forget to put y, not making it an equation, and they type this in incorrectly. So what I did was I went over to my calculator, and I've already typed this in. So if you want to pause it and type it into your calculator, by the way, we don't need this. It was just for me. Type it into your calculator. I typed it in as year and wage. And I will tell you, when I tested it to want to see if the answer key was right, I actually put 2 40s in there. And I'm like, oh, her answer key is wrong, or this answer key is wrong. And I'm like, oh, what did I do? And I just triple check. Do these problems twice. They're so freaking easy. There's no reason to lose 1 point. You go to menu, you go to statistics, stat calculations, linear regression. Don't pick this one. They do that in AP stats for some reason. I'm not sure what for. We'll do this one. Now, it said that my year, notice I already did this. My year was my X value and my W was my wage value. And we click OK, and there we go. Now, write down the unrounded answer. If you can't see it, highlight it. It's sitting right here. See it right down here? It's right down here. So, and I usually say give 6 decimals. So, M equals .097 0975454. Good enough. Plenty of numbers. B equals, highlight it, 0.402, 2727. I don't know why that's weird. 2727. So I need to give my final answer rounded to the nearest. Oh man, how easy, 3 decimals. How about thousands place? Y equals 0.098, 3 decimals. There's the one you're going to make the decision on. We're going to round up. 398 x plus, it was positive, correct? Plus 0.402. Here's my equation. State the strength and direction of this data. Now, strength of this data. What are they talking about with strength of the data? Remember, this is your correlation coefficient. correlation coefficient, and that's the R value. So we got to come over to the R value, and you got to find the R value. And there it is right there. So our strength is 0.9875. So R equals 0.9875. Now, because that is positive, oh, and direction, it's positive. So we have a very, I would just state it like this way. There is a strong, that's the strength, positive correlation, I always misspell this, correlation between the year and wage. You got to justify your conclusion because the correlation coefficient is approximately 9.9, is that really what it is? 0.987, 0.99. I'd almost say there's a very strong positive correlation, 0.99, which is very close, which is very close to 1, which makes it positive, or which makes it strong. All right. What are we going to do with this thing? Solve algebraically. I guess here's what I would do. This is x. So what I can do with that is I can plug that in for x. Since it's equal, I can plug it in. So instead of that, I get y over y plus 2 equals, now you got to be careful here, y plus 2 minus 3 over 2. Now this is really y over y plus 2 equals y minus 1 over 2. Now I'm just going to cross multiply. Now remember, these are in parentheses, so you got to be careful with these. So I end up with 2y equals y plus 2 times y minus 1. So this is 2y equals y squared plus y minus 2. Bring this over, and I get 0 equals y squared minus y minus 2. Factor it, y and y. Negative 2 and positive 1. So my two y values are y equals 2 and, y equals negative 1. Now don't stop there. We still got to find the x values because notice up here it says solve x for x and y. So if y was equal to 2, if I use this equation, y plus 2 equals x, x is equal to 4. So my first point is 4, comma 2. Be careful, it's xy. And if y is equal to, what was the other one, negative 1? Then y plus 2 equals x is really negative 1 plus 2 equals x, or x equals positive 1. So this one would be 1, comma, oh man, I'm sorry, I'm doing that right behind my head. You're probably like, whoa, I'm going to have to remember to try to move my head. Hopefully you don't know what I'm talking about. So 1, comma, negative 1. So make yourself look professional. State your answers in a nice professional manner. Make your test look like it's been done by somebody that knows what they're doing. 4, comma 2 and 1, comma, negative 1. There's your two answers. Now, of course, you could have solved for x if you wanted to. But I did it that way. All right. 3 more left. A rocket is shot vertically into the air, height t, time t in seconds. Okay, modeled by this equation, blah, blah, blah. Determine algebraically the number of seconds it will take the rocket to reach a height of 529. So I know that this 529 is going in for height. So 529 equals negative 16t squared plus 184t. We never, ever, ever want to have a negative x squared. Never do you want to have a negative x squared, even when you're drinking coffee and it's cold. Ugh. Starting to get gross, kids. Going to have to get some hot coffee. So what we're going to do is move everything to that side. So 16t squared minus 184t plus 529 equals 0. So I have to solve this. I have to solve this equation. I will tell you right now, just looking at that son of a gun, it does not look factorable at all. But it might be. I can grab my calculator and we'll try it using the calculator. Let's see. Menu, algebra, 331. Nope, that's not what I want. Menu. Yours is 331. Mine is algebra, polytools, and find the roots of polynomial. Okay. So menu 331 for you. We type in 16. We type in negative 184, and I type in 529. Okay, and I click OK, and I click Enter. Oh, 5. I don't like the way that gave me those answers. Man, see, I wish those would give me, if it gives it to me as fractions, it's even better. So let's go into settings, document settings, change this to auto. Try this again. Nope. Let's change it to exact. There we go. 23 over 4, 23 over 4. Are you kidding me? So apparently this thing factors 4t minus 23, 4t minus 23, because they both turned out to be the same. So really we end up with 4t minus 23 equals 0, 4t equals 23, t equals 23 over 4, which is equal to 5.75 seconds. It said round to the nearest. Determine algebraic the number of seconds it will take. Well, I guess that's it, 5.75 seconds. Now, let's say you couldn't do that or you don't have that tool to help you factor. You just go through the quadratic formula. A equals 16. B equals negative 184. I know it looks hard, but it's not. C equals 529. And your discriminant, which is b squared minus 4ac, is equal to, so you come over here, we do 184 squared, 33,865, minus 4 times 16 times 529. So do minus 4 times 16 times 529. You get 30,000. Oops, didn't do that right. Minus 4 times 16 times 529. That should be a much smaller number. Oh, it's 0. Oh, my discriminant is 0. That makes this problem so much easier because it's x equals negative b. Well, that's 184 over 2a, 2 times 16, plus or minus the square root of 0 over 2 times 16. Well, these just go away. So I just do control division now. 184 divided by 2 times 16, and there's your 23 over 4. Divide them, you get 5.75 seconds. 2 left. All right, here we go. We got some, what do we got here? Kodachrome film. They dropped it in 2003. I think they're actually bringing it back now, which is kind of weird because it's just such amazing film, I guess. The table below shows the sale for film cameras in thousands That might be important. I don't even know. I haven't seen this question in a while. And the graph shows the original digital sales in thousands from 2004 to 2009. Determine which sales, film or digital, had the greatest rate of change. Look, when you see this rate of change, the only thing you need to think about in your brain is slope. Change in Y's over change in X. And they give us from 2005 to 2008. So 2005 to 2008. So I'm going to do the easy one first for cameras. So for cameras, the average rate of change. So the change for cameras is quite easy. Change in Y's. So we'll go 40. Oh, wait, this is film. This is film. I'm doing film over here. Oh, film cameras. So 40 minus 55. As soon as I went 40 minus 55, I knew it had to be film because it was going down. And then from 2008 to 2005. So this is a change of negative 15 over 3, which is negative 5. And again, that's probably behind my head. So let me move that up and over a little bit. So that's all I did for that one. So now let's talk about film. So from 2005, that's this point, to 2008, that's that point. So they made that kind of easy. 60, so let's do change in digital. Digital. So my change in Y's is 60 minus 30 over 2008 minus 2005. So that's 30 over 3, which equals 10. So digital cameras had the greatest average, totally screw that up, average rate of change from 2005 to 2008. Okay? And now, by the way, it makes no difference that that was negative. Remember, the rate of change is just the magnitude of the thing, not necessarily whether it's negative or positive. If this turned out to be negative, if this turned out to be positive 3, then this would have the larger average rate of change. Again, it makes no difference whether it's positive or negative for average rate of change. That's just whether or not it's increasing or decreasing. Okay, finally we made it to the last problem. Part 4, the last problem. So we have to graph this function, but we have to be careful. We want to do it over this interval. So I want to graph the function y equals cosine, I want to graph the function y equals 2 cosine x, and I want to do it from negative pi less than or equal to x less than or equal to pi. All right, so let me try to center that graph paper. There it is. All right, so my amplitude is equal to 2. My b value is equal to 1, so therefore my period is equal to 2 pi over 1, which is just 2 pi. Now I want to come up with my x scale. So my x scale will be 2 pi over 4, which is pi over 2. All right, so there I'm going to stop it. Because I want to graph from negative pi over 2 to pi over 2, from negative pi to pi, I need to put an axis in the middle. You will have a straight edge on your exam. I expect you to draw this nice and neatly. All right, so we need to count by pi over 2's. So pi over 2, pi. Negative pi over 2, negative pi. pi. All right, and we got to get our amplitude of 2. So 1, -1, -2. All right, so let's graph this thing. Now, we have to be really, really, really careful. We're not starting over here. We're going to start where we start. We're starting at 2. So we start at 2. We end at 2. And in the middle is a minimum. Okay, so you got to be careful. We're starting at 2, ending at 2, but I'm not actually going out to pi. And in the middle of those is a 0. So it should look like this. And then in between these should also be -2 and 0. Oh, there we go. That's that part of it. Ugly as heck. It would be a lot neater. So on the same set of axes, graph, reflect the function and label it g of x and write its equation. Oh, are you guys kidding me? So let me grab a different color, green, and I'm going to reflect it. So green would go here. These would stay the same. So in this equation, so what is the only difference between that? And you should know this. When you reflect in the x-axis, all we do is the transformation is the transformation is a negative in front. So it's -2 cosine x. And now it says find the exact value of g of pi over 6. G, that sounds like fun. Now, g is this function, so -2 cosine of pi over 6. Now, it said exact, so you're not allowed to mess around with it. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn pi over 6. You're not allowed to just type this in your calculator. Pi over 6. I'm going to convert that to degrees by multiplying by 180 over pi. If you don't remember how to do that, you can come back to the formula sheet. There's the conversion from radians to degrees. And this gives me 30 degrees. Now, for those of you that don't remember 30 degrees, you can do one of two things. You can do the left-hand trick. Look at your left hand. 30 degrees is this. Cosine would be on the left, sine on the right, square root of 3 over 2. Or you can draw this 30, 60, 90 triangle that you were taught how to draw a million times. Hypotenuse is 2. Opposite to 30 is 1. Opposite to 60 is the square root of 3. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So this is going to be equal to -2, the cosine times the cosine of 30 degrees, which is equal to -2 times the square root of 3 over 2, which is equal to the negative square root of 3. And there is your answer. And that is the end of this too. Yay! We accomplished something. Hit the subscribe button for me, please. Helps me out. Hit the like button. Leave me a comment if you have one. And keep on studying, kids. Keep on studying. Hopefully you did okay with this.